Covering the Illinois State House, you get to watch how the sausage is made. You get to see all of the politics that are debated and really how state law impacts Illinoisans or anybody throughout the country in this constitutional republic we live in. But obviously there's ongoing questions on how things are managed. And right now in Illinois, you've got a Democrat supermajority in the House and the Senate with Republicans in the superminority who are constantly trying to have their voice heard. And they don't seem to get too far on things that they talk about when it comes to ethics reforms or accountability of state agencies. Well, yesterday, Senate Republicans held a news conference virtually to talk about some of their concerns they have with state agencies and how they're operated. State Senator Chapin Rose kicking it off.
As you all know, for the last several weeks, the governor has been gallivanting around all over the country talking about Think Big America. But right now, here in Illinois, our constituents are hurting. The ship of state is sinking. There are so many problems that we're going to talk about just a few of them right now. But frankly, rather than thinking about America, Governor, you should be here, Illinois, joining us to think about Illinois and how to solve our constituents' problems.
So he highlighted a variety of different things. One he started with is a recent Chicago Sun-Times article about a Illinois Emergency Management Agency employee who was getting paid close to double what the agency's director was for being just an office assistant of sorts. And it was like tens of thousands of dollars this person was getting paid on a contractual basis. A bloated salary. Well, once it was revealed and the Chicago Sun-Times reported on it, you had this individual step down. There's been several issues at that agency that Chapin Rose, state senator, Republican out of Mahomet, says that is problematic.
He was billing over $60,000 a month, up to $60,000 a month for as an office assistant or some such. Never mind the fact that they had reassigned a temporary worker to another job that had been filling that post on an annual basis. And here comes this person billing up to $60,000 in at least one of the months as an office assistant. You know, the folks I represent in Edgar County are having a hard time finding a job that pays $60,000 a year, let alone $60,000 a month. That's just one example.
And he goes on to talk about other state agencies where there have been significant problems, including during the COVID-19 pandemic. We've talked about it ad nauseum, and that's the unemployment fraud. And everything from Congress people getting unemployment checks when they never applied for them to, prisoners getting unemployment funds to a whole host of other fraudulent activities that have happened. We didn't know for years what the total number was because audit after audit said the Illinois Department of Employment Security did not keep proper records. So you had that to contend with. And then just recently we find out it's more than $5 billion in overpayments during the COVID-19 pandemic. And all of this under Governor J.B. Pritzker's watch. If you have a question, and I've asked the governor this question before, we've talked about it, he kind of says, oh, well, other states got hit with more unemployment fraud and it was a big problem. We had a global pandemic going on. We had to respond to it. But if you look at the most recent audit that outlines the $5+ billion of funding, it says that the state did not heed the advice that federal agencies were providing in recommendations on how to prevent fraud during the COVID-19 pandemic. And here's Senator Rose.
The bottom line is they ignored the specific federal guidance on how to prevent fraud from happening. And so he can point to other states, he can point to other places, but what he can't do, again, is think about what happened here in Illinois under his guidance, under his leadership or lack of it. Again, just following the federal guidance would have helped. Just following the guidance would have helped, but that didn't happen. And we can go across agency after agency after agency.
And he talks about the Department of Children and Family Services not properly notifying the authorities about alleged abuse in a timely fashion. He goes into the Department of Corrections, not notifying local law enforcement about the release and monitoring of sex offenders and a whole stack of other state agency issues that audits have found. State Senator Sally Turner, Republican from Beeson, she sounded off on problems, in particular with, the governor's focus.
As my colleague said before, we're here because we fear this administration is more focused on national politics and the perceptions than managing our ongoing problems within our own state. And unfortunately, far too many agencies are plagued with dysfunction. mismanagement and the lack of accountability.
And she talks about one agency in particular being the Illinois Department of Professional and Financial Regulation, or the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, the agency that deals with professional licensure. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a dentist, you want to be a chiropractor, you want to be, a whole host of different professional licensed individuals. You have to go through the state to do that. And one set of professionals in the medical space are concerned that things aren't getting done quick enough, and that's going to impact the quality of health care.
Right now, thousands of healthcare workers in this state are worried about their job security because of the long waiting periods they face to get their licenses renewed. Not only are they spending months waiting for the renewal, but while they wait, there's no real way to connect with anybody at the department to get an update on their status of their license and application. This impacts many skilled professionals throughout our state, including doctors and nurses and pharmacists, dentists, social workers, and many other in the healthcare field.
So clearly there's an issue with the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, and maybe it's just a change of state laws, but regardless, that is an agency that Governor J.B. Pritzker manages. And the governor has brushed off audits in the past, saying a lot of the findings are things that are outdated laws, and they no longer tabulate things in that way, and they don't have to report it this way. And while it's true, there have been some serious findings in the past few audits that were from the governor's management of these agencies. So he has said that they review those, and they're looking at them and looking to address those. But again, Senate Republicans at the Illinois State House seeing it differently. Here's Senate Minority Leader John Curran, again, talking about the governor's focus.
We need a chief executive that is going to focus on our problems right now, right here, today. Unfortunately, Governor Pritzker is more focused on expanding his name recognition on the national stage than managing this state and the departments under his sole control. Last week, while we were in Springfield during veto session on numerous vetoes, the governor was out in Washington, D.C., weighing in on foreign policy and national politics. Before that, it was a national media tour promoting his new political advocacy group, Think Big America. While Governor Pritzker is busy thinking big in states like Wisconsin, Florida, Ohio, and Arizona, who's thinking about running Illinois government? His focus shows that he's more concerned about running for another job than he is with performing the job he was elected to do in this state. Governor, it is time to come back to work for the job you were elected to do. It is time to think Illinois.
So, interesting play of words. The governor having this, big national political group called Think Big. You got Illinois Republicans urging the governor to come back and think Illinois. So interesting messaging. I did get a chance to ask about what they're getting, what kind of reception they're getting from Democrats when it comes to oversight of state agencies. Again, Republicans in the super minority here in Illinois. You've got Democrats in the super majority, and they hold every constitutional office, including the governor and the treasurer and the secretary of state and the attorney general and the comptroller and so on. So Democrats dominate in Illinois, but one of my colleagues requested comment from the governor's office and also the Senate Democrats' office and didn't hear back yesterday. But what kind of reception are Republicans getting from Democrats on the issues of oversight?
They've been cooperative. I think the first step is always seeking information from the administration and trying to chip away at that lack of transparency. I think we've seen recently that when we were asking questions about his use of tax dollars with the closing fund, there's just a real resistance from the governor to provide any information, be transparent, answer questions.
And he's talking about this closing fund that legislators agreed to give the governor to have a pot of money, tens of millions of dollars to be able to close the deal with companies coming to the states. And Republicans saying there's not much oversight on that, what some would characterize as a slush fund.
Always tries to push it off into another avenue. So, the majority Democrats have worked with us in some instances on that oversight. I think that's going to be a continuing theme that we're going to turn more and more to the Senate Democrats to participate with us in the upcoming spring on oversight over all these agencies.
So we'll see if that ultimately does happen. But it's a question, of course, that maybe we'll pose to some Democrats on the ground next week when they return for the final 3 days a fall veto session. So we'll be watching all of that and more, of course. Like, subscribe, notify yourself about the latest here with Bishop on Air. Follow me on Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, and some other social media companies as well. But of course, Wake Up Live and Local right here where you're at on YouTube. Facebook, we're streaming. X, we're streaming. So be sure to follow along, like, subscribe, and get the latest. All right. You can email me, bishoponair@gmail.com.